And I think we are live, all being well.
And I think we are live.
That'll be a yes then.
That'll be a yes.
Oh, that was me.
Oh, dear. That's normally me, to be fair.
Yeah. There we go. Right. There you go. Okay, give me the nods then, Carlos, and I'll start loading.
I'm just going to check it's all dumped in there. It should be all in there now.
Okie dokie.
Or is it still working? It might be still working.
Have you had... Are you still failing to access it, Nick, then? Is that why you were...
What, the DAS?
Yeah.
The only thing... I haven't tried to access it from my work PC, because
okay, right.
I tend to do the majority of
the... no, that's fair. Okay.
Collating at work. But maybe what I'll do in future is I can just bung all the media on a USB drive.
Well, that link should still work. It'll depend on the restrictions on your network, but
it might just be easier for me just to do it when I get home, and then so maybe I'll do it that way.
Well, give it a try. You've got the link, so give it a try.
I'll try it next week.
Yeah, and see how you get on. Obviously, let me know. Depending on what time you're doing it, will depend on whether I can.
That's annoying.
Oh,
well, it's saying it's done it, but I can't see them in there.
Have you refreshed? Because it might be that it hasn't refreshed the window.
Let me come out of there and go back in again.
That Brooklyn's behind you there, Mr. Carlos?
No, that's Duxford, that is.
Oh, is that okay?
Oh. Yeah, the BOAC VC10 and the new...
Right, there is a 513 folder, and I've just got C1. I've just got 3 things in there.
Could be a few more than that.
Yeah, that's bloody annoying. Why hasn't that worked? When you told me it worked, you lie. You absolutely...
Me?
No, the blooming thing that shows you the file.
Let me get to it from the Google Drive then, seeing as I have fixed that now, because we want to start on time if we can.
I mean, there's C1 is in there, the video for Story 1.
There. Yeah.
Although that, to me, that doesn't look right. That doesn't even show a... Oh dear, that's not good. Just have a look in C1, Matt, and tell me if you see an actual proper...
1 moment, caller, please hold. Nev, can you just keep half an eye on the time for me, please?
Yes, of course. I'll change my background. Let's have a look.
No, they're part files. They're not completed downloads.
Oh, yeah. That's now doing 50 seconds.
Okay, right. So what shall I do? Shall I load them from the pictures from somewhere else? Or?
Yeah, they have to be from the Google Drive, because that's blatantly not worked.
Okay, well. Leave it with me.
I did try.
Appreciate the
Anything
effort.
I can do from here, guys?
No.
Just 30 seconds.
What, till when I need to pick?
No, till the video's in C1.
Okay, all right. Well, as long as the video's there, because that'll play better from there. C3, I'm now doing pictures. C4.
5, 4, 3,
I've got
2.
enough. I've got enough to get me going. I can load the rest as we go now.
15 seconds to clock.
Oh. Darren Smith says, tonight's episode, PC Talking UK.
Quite right. Yes,
it's good. We're not talking about food this week.
Oh, you've ruined it now.
What do you have for your dinner, Carlos?
Chicken with lettuce and coleslaw on brown granary bread.
Oh,
okay. Clock's running, people.
Good.
Clock is running.
My lovely wife left me a message saying that your beef and black bean sauce is for you in the fridge, and it's not in the fridge, it's in the freezer.
15 seconds.
Are we all good?
My beef and black bean isn't it still frozen?
Okay, here we go. Good luck, everyone.
Well, hello, and welcome to episode 513 of the Plain Talking UK podcast. Well, hello, and welcome. In this week's show, we've got Southwest seating, a boom in Farnborough, more on Heathrow's third runway, and some great news about women pilots. And in the military news this week, we've got more on F-16s in the Ukraine and Saabs launching satellites. And that's not the car. Joining us this week, we've got the, most of the team back together again over in his Master Suite studio. It's our very own Suffolk sweetheart. It's Matt Smith.
Wow. Okay. I don't know what to do with that information.
Every week you excel yourself, Nick.
I'm actually speechless. Moving on.
Sweetheart. Oh, bless you. Well, Matt, we've been enjoying some rather glorious weather in the Waveney Valley area here.
It's been a little bit warm, hasn't it?
It's been lovely, isn't it?
It's a bit warm here in the studio, not going to lie.
You got the window open?
I have a crack, yeah. I can't open it too much, otherwise the green screen flops about.
That's what she said.
Indeed,
anyway,
quite.
No, it's has to be said, it's been quite a quiet week without him, and we've got a few specially picked stories which will be right up his alley. He's back, and he's literally just got off the plane. It's Neville Bounds.
Well, about 6 hours ago, but yeah, it felt like it. Yeah. Here I am, yes, back from Borney, Scotland. Very nice few days up there. And actually, the temperature was just nice, about 22, 23 degrees for the most part, and not too hot either, which was great. But it is holiday time, of course, and there's lots of tourists getting in my way.
Oh dear.
To barge past them. But anyway, I think my company should have a new policy of not allowing us to travel during holiday season, because it's not funny, I can tell you. However, great to see my customers up there in Edinburgh and Glasgow this week. And most people are going on holiday now, so I shan't see them for a while. So, it'd be great. It's great to be back on the show, though. So that's
good flight, Nev.
Very good, yes. A320 going up, 10-year-old one, and an A321 Neo coming back.
Oh, Neo.
Which is very nice. Full flight, 197 plus one. I don't know whether I was the plus one, but I'm presuming that was an infant on the plane. So, remember, it's hard to remember, isn't it, that those A321s take nearly 200 people on them. But that was good flight. And yes, nice to be back home for a few days, I must say. I've been away a lot recently. So, nice to be back on the show too.
Good to see you, Nev. And you might notice Andy is missing this week. He was actually due to be on the show this week, but literally at the last minute, he's actually got to go and do some flying, some actual flying work. Yeah. So he's off on a little jolly this evening, but he'll be back hopefully with us next week. But we have got our illustrious, as I said earlier, our illustrious producer at large who puts the gazing into our opening of the show each week is, of course, Nick Codling.
Well, I've been working on my Geordie accent with Andy not being here this week.
God.
So we'll be fine without him, pet. Why I?
Oh my word! Let's just.
We need to have oh God, that's going to be a complicated conversation with HR, isn't it?
I have got a quick question for Nev, though. You mentioned that there was an infant on the plane. Are you with child?
No, not my infant.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Just wanted to clear that up.
So, or perhaps they were referring to me as infantile.
Possibly. Always
How
a risk.
rude.
Yeah, absolutely. Always a risk.
But I take it with the glorious weather we've been having, Nick, and obviously with you living in a very nice part of the UK, you've been out on the old two-wheeled mobile.
I've been sticking to the car, mate. It's got aircon. It's too hot to be putting all the bike gear on. Yeah. Oh my goodness, it's been absolutely
I feel
scorching.
I feel your pain. I had to wear a similar attire as to what you wear on your motorbike at the weekend. I was at a stag weekend with my cousin, as Matt knows, and we were.
Didn't realise you were going to be wearing leather, though, dear. I
mean, we done quad biking.
Different podcast, Matt.
Sorry.
So So we had to obviously don the sort of
safety gear,
to do quad biking, and the only suit that was well big enough for me to get into was made out of anything I could say was plastic.
Nice.
So you can imagine by the time we'd done our half an hour of quad biking around the forest, I was like, well,
a little moist,
slightly, yes. But I'd have to say the highlight of the afternoon was go-karting, of which I done very well until the third from last lap when my tyre blew out. And
that's right. Blame the equipment. Oh, it's like the F1 all over again, isn't it?
And I tell you honestly, because
there's no chance Carlos being 1.5 kilograms underweight, though, is there? I mean,
I'm competitive. When it comes to go-kart, I do get competitive because I'm quite a waspy person when I'm driving in a go-kart.
No, never noticed that before.
And I'm not going to lie. When I went back into the pits and changed car, I got out, got in the other car. And I was so annoyed, I pulled around the track at 20 mile an hour and thought I just can't be bothered.
Oh. I can see us having a bit of a PT UK go-karting event there.
No.
But do you know what the shocking thing is? Do you know the thing that I never thought I'd enjoy, but I actually really thoroughly enjoyed was the archery.
Oh, okay. That's unexpected.
What a sport. It's incredible. I absolutely thoroughly enjoyed it.
Did you get an absolutely colossal bruise on your forearm like I did when I tried it?
No, two of our guys did though. They had the old they call it the slap or something with the bowstring.
Yeah,
slap on the arm. Yeah. But no, I managed to stay away from that. But I managed a modest 4th out of 7 in the archery, which I think was quite good considering I've never done archery before.
Exactly. Very good. Very
good.
But
it was good fun. I enjoyed that. But no, it's good to have all the team here as always. We're going to have a look at the chat room to see who's joining us this week. Richard Adams, top of the board there this week. Hello to you, Richard. Mazouz, hello to Mazouz. I hope you're well. Hope we see you on Saturday, Mazouz, over at Beckles. Fingers crossed. Hobby Time is also in there. Hello to you. Richard E. Flagg. I actually had dinner with Richard a few days ago in my office at work, which was nice to meet Richard. He'll be joining us, all being well, Saturday as well. Jeff Ward is also in there. Hello to you. Jonathan Warner, he's currently going through the 2.5 million photos he took at Riyadh this year. Mash is in there. Hello to you as well. Good to see you in there. Darren Smith. Hello, Darren. Good to see you as well. Bill. Hello, Bill. He's... Bill's excited. He's well excited. Richard Adams. Alan White. Hello to you, Alan. Good to see you in there as well. Tanya. Hello. Hope you're enjoying the weather your side, Tanya, because it's blooming hot here in the UK. Reese is also in there as well. Master of None. Hello to you. Captain Cruz. Wouldn't be a chat room without Captain Cruz in there. And everyone else who's joined us tonight, thanks for joining us. As always, we are live every week here on YouTube at 7 o'clock. And don't forget, if you go onto YouTube, to click that subscribe and the bell icon to be notified when we're live and broadcasting, as we are right now. So we've got loads to get through on the show today, including our polo shirt giveaway from the Thorpe Abbott's Bomb Group, which we're giving away. If you've not seen the question yet, it is on our Facebook page. So if you've not had a go at entering the competition, there's still time for you to have a go at entering that competition to win the polo shirt.
But only if you're watching us live.
Only if you're watching us live, unfortunately, yes. We'll be announcing the winner at the end of the show of that polo shirt, but it is on our Facebook page. Right. If all the team's ready, let's do some commercial news.
The captain has turned on the seatbelt light. Please take your seats and fasten your seatbelts.
So we mentioned this a little bit last week on the show, and it is about BA releasing their new safety video. Now, we've had our opinions in the past on the show about the various different airline safety videos. I know that we all feel very strongly in regards to how they're put together and how they look. But BA has released their new or British Airways hath released its new safety video. So BA released their new safety video to keep customers engaged with important safety messaging. The British period drama themed movie stars more than 40 of the airline's colleagues. It's filmed in a grand country house across the UK. The 5-minute film is inspired by Britain's rich and varied history, made famous through its literature, TV and film. The airline appointed film director Sharon Maguire for the video, known for directing Bridget Jones' Diary, and the British original safety video will feature onboard BA's long-haul flights from the 1st of August. When it came to location, the airlines selected grand British country estates, including Hatfield House in Hertfordshire and Englefield House estate in Berkshire, to shoot the video. Sharon Maguire, most widely known for her work on Bridget Jones' Diary and Bridget Jones' Baby, was chosen to direct the 5-minute video because of her ability to demonstrate the British comedy in a way that would engage with the airline's global customers. Callum Lang, British Airways Chief Customer Officer, said, "We know that these videos deliver vital safety information, and it's so important that we do everything we can to keep our customers engaged throughout. When it came to selecting a genre, we wanted something that would enable us to do this while resonating with global audiences. So a period drama with a little bit of humour seemed the perfect fit." He said, "We've created something truly original and entertaining that celebrates what makes Britain and British Airways unique while communicating the importance of safety on board." He said, "I'm also incredibly proud that more than 40 colleagues star in the film. As we've always said, it's our people who make us who we are." So, Nev, I know you've not seen the video yet. Nick, I think, have you seen the video in its entirety yet?
Not in its entirety. I've seen probably 2/3 of it.
Matt, have you seen this video?
No, I've not seen it, other than us mentioning it briefly last week. No.
So, all the chat room, watch this video and perhaps give us your thoughts on what you think of this safety video.
Anne, I must confess a sentiment of the most tender nature.
Welcome, everyone. We will now demonstrate the safety features of this aircraft, and your attention is essential, as this may be different from any aircraft that you've flown on before.
Do I smell the winds of war? I see smoke on the horizon.
Smoking, including e-cigarettes, vaping, and the use of other smoking devices, is not permitted at any time whilst on board, including the toilets, which have smoke detectors in them.
Gerald, it's you. For too long I've kept my true feelings hidden, but now...
Personal devices should have the flight safe mode feature enabled now.
Handheld devices must be held securely or placed into a pocket.
What witchcraft is this? The painting! It moves!
Larger devices, including laptops, must be switched off and placed in your luggage for takeoff and landing. Please unplug your devices from the sockets. They must also be switched off and unplugged when not being used during the flight. If you do lose your device within your seat, please don't move the seat yourself. Ask a member of crew for some help.
Anne, dearest, at your age, one can't be too choosy.
Hand baggage must be placed under the seat in front of you, or carefully above in an overhead locker, so it doesn't block any aisles or exits.
Just one moment. Please check your seatbelt is fastened securely and worn whenever the seatbelt signs are on. It is fastened like this, adjusted like this, and opened like this.
If you're sitting in one of our first or Club World seats with a shoulder strap, you must ensure this is also attached for takeoff and landing. It is adjusted like this and opened like this. For your comfort and safety in case of turbulence, we recommend you keep your seatbelts fastened and visible at all times.
Tight up!
If the air supply fails, oxygen will be provided and masks will appear automatically. If you are wearing a face mask, please remove it before putting on the oxygen mask. Stay in your seat, pull the oxygen mask towards you and place it over your mouth and nose and breathe normally, adjusting the band to secure it. Please note, the bag may not inflate. You may need to pull on a coloured streamer to release your mask. Ensure your own mask is fitted before helping anyone else.
life jacket is underneath or beside your seat. If required, remove the jacket from its container and pull it over your head. Pass the tapes around your waist and tie securely in a double bow at the side. To inflate, pull the red toggle as shown, and the air can be topped up by using this mouthpiece. There is a whistle and a light for attracting attention. Please do not inflate your life jacket until you're outside of the aircraft. Pray, which they'll do it again.
Should we need to evacuate, move quickly to the nearest usable exit. Taking nothing with you as carrying baggage may block aisles and exits and delay your evacuation. Low-level lighting will guide you to an exit. All exits are clearly marked and are being pointed out to you now.
Eyes on your cabin crew.
Please locate your nearest exit. Remember, it may be behind you. Opening the doors automatically inflates the evacuation slides.
High-heeled shoes must be removed as they may tear the slide.
This red handle is for emergency use only, and its instructions are found inside your suite. Doors must be secured open for taxi, takeoff and landing.
All this important information can be found on your safety card. This includes the brace position, and this is the brace position!
Oh, George! If your seat is fitted with a shoulder strap, you must adopt this position.
Please now check your seat is in the takeoff position with the armrest down. Your table is folded away, personal devices unplugged, and window blinds are open or set to clear. If you have a footstool or a video screen, please stow these now.
A letter, Lady Bentley.
What is this?
I believe it's a safety card, ma'am.
Please have a good look at your safety card before we depart, and if you have any questions, just ask your cabin crew.
And as always, wherever you go,
Whomever you see,
stay safe.
Look after one another.
And never change.
Is it a winged creature off the air?
Or perchance a celestial contrivance navigating the skies?
No, ma'am. That's a British Airways A350.
I mean, I hope they didn't bring that up the drive. I mean, can you imagine? Oh my!
So, Nev, being our resident BA person, obviously, your thoughts on that production?
I'm very nervous about this.
Well, if I wanted a costume drama, then I would have gone on to Netflix for one. Why do we have to do it like this? Why can't it be a normal safety video? I go back to my original point some months ago about if English is not your first language, that makes for quite difficult reading or listening to and watching. And when it all goes wrong on the runway just after or just before V1 and the captain orders an evacuation, are you going to remember all those things with all of that other stuff going on? And I realise that I'm probably in the minority here because the production is obviously very good, but I just think, again, we're losing the focus. Why have they made a video? It's because it's a safety video and therefore it is mission critical, isn't it? So I don't know. I don't think I'll ever like them. The last one I thought was absolutely appalling. This one is slightly less bad, I suppose I would say it from that point of view, but having only seen it for the first time, I'm not a big fan, I've got to say. Sorry.
Nick?
Well, my unpopular opinion is I like it. I think I personally found it to be quite captivating. It got my attention and I felt like it sort of led me through the video and I was kind of striving to watch more of it and see what would happen next. But actually, although it was, it's a very elaborate production, I actually felt that they did a good job of making sure that the important safety aspects of it were covered in a way which was clear. So I actually think they did that quite well.
So I'm going to be controversial here and side with Nick, actually, on this one. I think they've got the balance right between making it engaging and focusing on the mission critical elements to it. So for me, I would be perhaps watching that video more intently than I would have been doing if it was just a very dry thing. I mean, I'm going to use like the New Zealand one as an example. That I found extremely distracting. It didn't work for me as a safety video because there was too much going on. The message was getting lost and all that kind of thing. But actually, for me personally, credit to BA here. I think they've got the balance just right. It's you're interested enough in it because of the nice sort of surroundings and all that kind of thing, and the silly little, it's. I think there's an argument for it being one of the better ones, if I'm honest.
Yeah, Richard E. Flagg is saying in the chat room, I have to say it's grown on me as a safety video. There's a comment there from Masha. I think if you can see that one, Matt.
Yeah, it says it's very long, but the life jacket bit was mildly amusing. Actually, it was nice to see one being inflated. Because I don't think you normally see them pull on the. I don't know. Do the other videos where do they inflate them? I
don't know if they do.
Yeah, sort of. Because I've often wondered if it was going to sort of like garrot me or stop me from breathing. Sometimes when you're never quite sure how much they're going to fill up by.
Darren makes a good point there, Matt. In the chat room.
BA are trying to copy Qantas and Air New Zealand. We mentioned the Air New Zealand thing. For me personally, they've got the balance perhaps a little bit more on point, focusing on the safety critical element to this. The one thing we haven't done, Carlos, is ask you what you thought of it. Are you in Nev camp, or are you in the unpopular consensus of me and Nick over here on this fence?
I'm going to go half and half. I'm going to say
no.
One.
No, you can't do that.
No, listen. Part of me says there are informative bits of that video which, if you watch, are visual bits that are very good. The only thing that I find is that it's just too blooming long. And I think when you're sitting on board an aircraft, you've got to tune into that for 5 minutes and watch that entire video for 5 minutes.
But then you could argue, you're on a long haul flight. You're maybe about to sit on that plane for 8 hours.
Yeah,
you kind of get into that long haul mindset of actually. You've got a bit of time to fill there, haven't you?
Incredible.
And also the audio, so when they play the audio file and the cabin crew are demonstrating it in the aisles type thing, I'd put money on if you timed that is going to be 5 minutes plus. To be fair, because I don't think there was a great deal of faff, if you like, filling the gaps in comparison to some interesting. We're having a proper discussion about it. I'm very excited.
God, can you remember back in the day when I think it was Thompson had that? They'd done a cartoon version, a cartoon safety video they used to play on those awful CRT monitors that hung from the ceilings. But it was they'd done a cartoon version, one of those the Aha video, Take On Me. With the animated music video, they'd done a safety video. It was very much like that. But where can we go from here? What could possibly, where could we possibly go from a video like that for a safety video?
I think we would have to sign up the services of Bounds Consulting Limited.
Good point, well made. Would he take the contract on though? That's the question.
Yes, I would be very. Reasonably priced,
right?
So I wouldn't have all that stuff in it,
right? Yeah, no, that's fair. Yeah,
especially that. Why are they trying to do comedy?
Yeah,
on a safety video, I don't get it. I realise I'm in the minority here, and people are absolutely entitled to their own opinion.
I think my take on it is that they're using comedy as a way to sort of hook you into it to keep you watching.
But then again, you see, Nev is right in many ways in his argument. The fact it's a safety critical element, and they shouldn't have to be injecting in humor in it in order for you to watch something that will literally save your life in the event of an incident. There's no two ways about that.
Now, I have to say the manual safety demonstrations that are done are more compelling because a lot of the crew are making eye contact with you, and including those people that are reading their Kindles or their newspapers and all the rest of it. So I think there is a bit of a two-way communication going on there, which obviously a video can't possibly do. But each to their own. But it's not for me, that one.
There's that quite famous video, isn't there, of the gentleman on an American airline, not American Airlines, but an American airline, doing a safety demonstration in a very humorous way, which has every
Southwest.
Was it?
Yeah.
And he was brilliant. He made it funny, and everybody was watching because he was funny. And I think there is definitely an argument to say that actually having that personal touch to it does get everybody more engaged with the message that you're trying to get across.
But as Nev says, though, it is a it's not supposed to be funny. It's supposed to be informative.
Yes.
Are we really that devoid of entertainment in our lives where even the safety critical bits have to be? Do you know what I mean? It's like you got 8 hours of watching whatever it is you want to watch on the IFE if you're doing a long haul. Can you not bear just 5 minutes of education?
I don't think people can. I think this is the trouble. We live in a world of instant gratification, don't we? And people are very used to kind of, they'll watch something and, doom scrolling and flicking through stuff, and if something doesn't attract your attention within 2 seconds, you flick onto the next thing, and it's kind of I think we are in a world now where it's actually quite difficult to keep people's attention for a longer period.
These are all strong arguments, to be fair.
It's been a very good discussion. Well done, everyone.
I thought we've all been very polite.
Yes,
absolutely.
I think, yes.
Right, Nev, you've got the next one, and this is a bit of an interesting one. This one.
Oh, it is. It's on the independent.co.uk, and it says that a California woman whose stage 4 cancer had been in remission claims the disease returned following a spat with a flight attendant over her emotional support animal. In a federal lawsuit obtained by the Independent, 51-year-old Oksana Krichenko says her health took a turn for the worst after she and her elderly husband were subjected to an unexplainable level of cruel humiliation and ridicule by a JetBlue crew member who refused to let Pia, a 23-pound French bulldog, sit with them in first class. During the pre-boarding process, a JetBlue agent confronted them about Pia, raising questions on whether they could be allowed to bring their dog with them, according to the complaint. The two offered all of their documentation to the agent, who was unmoved, it says. After a long, stressful wait, the JetBlue agent informed them that they would be permitted to board only if one of them gave up their first-class seat and flew with Pia in economy. The complaint continues. Plaintiffs were boarded on the plane with Mr. Krichenko seated in the first-class seat and Mrs. Krichenko seated in economy class with their dog in its travel bag. Whilst the plane taxied to the runway for takeoff, a flight attendant handed Oksana a much smaller bag and demanded that Pia be placed inside, according to the complaint. As the dog was unable to fit, the plane was ordered to return to the airport building and the plaintiffs were ousted from the plane, the complaint states. By this time, the earliest flight they could book back to Los Angeles didn't leave until the next day on Delta Airlines from Miami. So backed into a corner, the two bought new tickets, got to Miami and paid for a hotel room, the complaint says. Delta had no issue with either of the plaintiff's dog or the dog's bag, and the family finally got home. JetBlue caused the Krichenko's unnecessary monetary damages, in addition to an unexplainable level of cruel humiliation and ridicule. Additionally, Mr. Krichenko had experienced a prolonged period of pain in his spine and limited mobility following his forced extended standing at the JetBlue kiosk. Oksana Krichenko, although a stage 4 cancer patient, had been in remission prior to the events, described above, according to the complaint. Those events caused her an extreme amount of stress, but upon arriving home, she checked into her local medical center hospital in Los Angeles, and the test results had shown that the mean tumor molecule levels had risen to 0.59. Several prior tests were showing at 0. The family is suing JetBlue for negligence and violations of the Americans with Disabilities Act. They are demanding reimbursement for hospital and medical expenses, attorney's fees and damages to be determined by a jury. JetBlue has 21 days to formally respond to the allegations. Unusually for me, I'm lost for words with this, because whatever I'm going to say next probably won't be very, representative, I don't think. And we haven't really heard the airlines side of the story in this piece, have we? And
it is unusual, unless it's Ryanair. Essentially, it does seem to be unusual, if you like, for an airline not to consider the well-being of their passengers. So I think a bit like you, Nev. I'm thinking there's a lot more still that we need to know about this story to be passing judgment, perhaps.
I mean, the chat room is very active with this story. I'm not sure I can read much of it out, so we'll just leave it in the chat room. But I agree with much of what is in the chat room.
Right. If you're watching this on YouTube in the next few days, you can actually replay the chat room, which is always very interesting.
Okay.
Now, Nick, we're going to move on to the next story, Nick, and we're moving on to Concorde.
Yes. So this one is actually from the Boom Supersonic website. So it was an article on their own blog, essentially. The headline was a bit of an attention grabber. Former chief Concorde pilot is first to fly both Concorde and their new supersonic jet, the Overture. Now, I have added an asterisk to that headline because, of course, Overture doesn't exist yet, so they've only been able to fly a simulator.
Yeah.
So last week it was the Farnborough Air Show, and Boom unveiled its full-scale flight deck and simulator, combining state-of-the-art technologies with safety-enhancing features to give pilots unprecedented situational awareness and ease of control. Ahead of the flight deck reveal, Boom conducted simulated flight research with pilots from the world's leading airlines and invited former Concorde pilots to experience flying Overture at the Farnborough International Air Show. Passengers and airlines are hungry for supersonic flight, said Blake Scholl, founder and CEO of Boom Supersonic. Overture features an all-new flight deck incorporating extensive pilot feedback, resulting in a flying experience that is both innovative and instantly familiar. Former chief Concorde pilot for British Airways, Mike Bannister, joined Boom at the show and flew in the Overture flight deck simulator. Bannister flew more hours on Concorde than any other pilot and has now become the first pilot to fly both Concorde and Overture simulator.
Astra.
I've long believed that Overture is the rightful successor to Concorde, said Bannister, sharing his unique perspective on supersonic flight after experiencing Overture's flight deck, which is incredibly well designed and delightful to fly. My excitement and enthusiasm for this aircraft has only intensified. In addition to Bannister, several other former Concorde pilots were invited to visit Boom's chalet and take a turn flying Overture, for former Concorde pilots Keith Barton, Brian Oliver and John Tye, along with Concorde expert and vice president of Brooklands Museum, Alan Wynne, had the opportunity to share their thoughts on how the Overture flight deck compared to Concorde. Quite a lot different, one should imagine. Pilots flying Concorde worked with a cockpit outfitted with hundreds of controls, switches and buttons. So many that it required a flight engineer in addition to the pilot and co-pilot, who was responsible for many operations that are now automated on Overture. Concorde also famously featured a mechanical droop nose to address visibility issues during takeoff and landing. Incorporating the next generation Honeywell Anthem avionics suite, Boom's all-new flight deck dramatically simplifies the number of controls previously found on Concorde with the use of large touchscreen displays. Overture will eliminate the need for Concorde's droop nose through an augmented reality vision system, which includes an advanced head-worn device from Universal Avionics. Not too sure how I feel about that. Pilots can safely land using auto land or augmented reality views provided on a head-worn device on the pilot's primary flight display. Concorde's pilots used a traditional yoke to fly the aircraft. However, Overture's flight deck introduces force feedback side sticks. So, in my opinion, it's still an Airbus. That allow pilots to control the plane while physically feeling both aircraft response and inputs made by the co-pilot or autopilot. Boom worked with BAE Systems to integrate active control side sticks into the Overture flight deck simulator displayed at the Farnborough Air Show. For the Concorde pilots, the force feedback side sticks were the biggest adjustment and revelation. However, they reported finding it easy to adapt to the change and operate the plane in tandem with another co-pilot. I had limited experience with side stick flying, but it was quite easy to get used to. I liked the pressure feedback on it, said Brian Oliver, former Concorde captain. Firstly, it was huge fun to fly the Overture. And secondly, we all feel very grateful and privileged to have had the opportunity as ex-Concorde pilots to see what the future looks like, added Bannister. In comparison with Concorde, everything is simplified and so much easier to get a grip on very quickly. I found it amazingly easy to fly, said Alan Wynne, Vice President of Brooklands Museum. The flight deck simulator experience not only activates pilot interfaces and flight controls, but also incorporates the performance, characteristics and flight control laws of Overture, allowing pilots to truly experience what flying Overture will feel like. I sat in the seat and within a very short period I was able to adapt to Overture. So that's telling me that this airplane is really designed for airline pilots of the future. Not sure what to make about that comment, said John Tye, former Concorde pilot.
I'd like to see, right, because Mike Bannister, he retired back in, where are we here? He retired back in 2003. Be interesting to see, you know, how he got on flying or taking off and landing that, even on a sim with a side stick. As a pilot who's traditionally flown Concorde.
Yes, I mean, looking at some of the visuals there, it's, you know, it's a very much a glass display dominated setup that they've got there. Actually looks quite small, doesn't it?
Yeah, I was going to say the flight deck does look very, very small.
I mean, even smaller than, you know, the Airbus and the Boeing simulators that we went in. They look actually quite narrow, actually. And I'm actually quite surprised at, you know, the fact that it's literally got 4 display screens and that's it. But one would have to imagine that that's not going to be the final version.
There'll be some more bits and pieces on there as well, but. Is this going to happen in our lifetime? Will Nev get to sit 1A on the Overture? Nev?
It's supposed to be flying in 2029, isn't it?
Supposed to be.
But I think they've got some work to do before that happens. I don't know. I'm very negative this evening, so I do apologise to everybody. But it's... Having been such a huge fan of Concorde and actually a big fan of Mike Bannister, because I mean Mike's a top fella. I've been to a couple of his lectures at Brooklands previously, and you know, he's a great ambassador for the airline and the whole supersonic thing. But I'm not sure about this. I'm just wondering whether we've moved on from the supersonic dream. But you know, I do once again I do stand to be corrected, and if there is a commercial viability for this and people can make money from it and people like flying on it, then great. But we're in a different time now.
I think that's the trouble, isn't it? Where you've got
now, you know, so
got such a long period with you know, to developing new aircraft. And you know, we saw it a little bit with the A380, didn't we? That actually by the time it kind of became mature, the airline industry had changed, and aside from those airlines that you know were very heavily embedded into operating the kind of the hub and spoke type model, it just didn't work for a lot of other airlines. And you know, and I think
the reason
that's
that
the
the
danger with
Concorde
this, isn't
worked
it?
as well as it did, it was designed for one specific route, generally speaking, and that was Paris or London to New York. And that's what it did. Now, it did do other routes, obviously, and there were Concorde charters and other things as well. But generally speaking, that was the route it was designed for. That was the route the fuel burn was designed for. And it was, I would say, fully optimized for that route. Now, this is obviously going to be flying all kinds of routes, I would imagine. I've not even seen much information about what the route network might be.
Or what airline's going to buy it.
Yeah, exactly. So, but let's see. You know, I say Mike seems to be extremely enthusiastic about it, and I will, you know, bow to his superior knowledge. But at the same time, the world is moving in such a fast rate of knots, not just in terms of you know, things would be supersonic, but actually the way business is conducted, and those executives are no longer flying. They don't need to fly on that kind of aircraft.
Yeah.
Now, this is for not just highly paid executive, I presume, but for more, you know, domestic and consumer type passengers as well. But nonetheless, we'll have to see.
So, Matt, you've got the next story, and quite an interesting picture for this story I've just noticed on the story.
Oh, right, okay. Well, unfortunately, we'll have to show the picture when I'm sort of done, unfortunately. But first of all, so, I mean, it's can you handle two emergencies at the same time is the question that's being set here. Now, it's from a website called onemeansnone.eu, not quite sure about that. And for context, I'm just going to read this little statement here. So the European Cockpit Association, the ECA, is the voice of European pilots within the European Union. It represents over 40,000 pilots from national pilot associations across 33 European states with 3 associate members. ECA advocates for enhancing aviation safety and promotes social rights and quality employment for pilots across Europe. So with that in mind, let's get stuck into the story then. Imagine you're on a flight and suddenly the captain announces they need to step away for a bathroom break. Seems harmless, right? But what if that captain is the only pilot at the controls of the plane? This is the provocative question posed by our new advertising campaign. This is obviously the ECA that we're talking about here. Aimed at highlighting the risks of single-pilot flights. Our ads, strategically placed in the airport restrooms, are designed to get passengers thinking and talking about the potential dangers of having only one pilot in the cockpit. The concept of reduced crew operations, pushed by airlines and airplane manufacturers Airbus and Dassault, suggests having only one pilot at the controls of an aircraft during cruise phase. European pilots warn about the multiple safety and security concerns related to this concept. Currently, regulatory and industry standards mandate the necessity of having 2 pilots at the controls of a large commercial plane. However, manufacturers such as Airbus and Dassault are actively pursuing the elimination of 1 pilot from the flight deck during the cruise phase. What do you do with them outside of the cruise, like outside of the taking off and landing bit? Where do they go then? This proposal, also known as Extended Minimum Crew Operations, is being evaluated by the European Aviation Safety Agency, the EASA. Its approval would lead to significantly diminished flight safety, with 1 pilot leaving the flight deck for several hours during the cruise phase, while the other remains at the controls. Our campaign vividly illustrates a scenario where the solo pilot needs to use the bathroom during the flight. The question we pose to travellers is simple yet striking. Can you handle two emergencies at the same time? ECA and thousands of pilots worldwide are advocating against this proposal. Two pilots in the cockpit are essential for the safety of the 200 to 400 people on board. They serve as mutual support and backup for each other, cross-checking and managing complex tasks as well as emergencies. While technological developments and automation have improved flight safety and efficiency, they are not failure-proof. Replacing pilots with automation could possibly increase aviation manufacturers' profits, but it will not make flights any cheaper or safer for passengers. Now, so there's a couple of things in this one for me. As I alluded to a moment ago, if you're going to have another pilot on board anyway to do the taking off and landing, why don't you just employ him anyway, or her, to be in the cockpit the whole time? I suppose you could argue if somebody did need a comfort break, they could be withdrawn from, the other pilot who helped them with the takeoff and landing, could be withdrawn from their break in order to sit in the cockpit while they did that. But with this is not something that I understand. This is where it's a shame we haven't got this story with Andy, because I'm sure he'd be able to answer a lot of these questions that I have. The other one I would argue is, realistically, if you removed one pilot from the cockpit, realistically, how much money would that save the airline? Or not the airline, it would save the airline lots of money, but realistically, how much of a difference would it make to the ticket that you and I are paying to be on that aircraft?
Probably not much at all, I expect.
I mean, I know you've got... why not turn the pilot seat into a... Right, okay. I don't know why I started reading that out. Oh, Mr. Bounds. I don't know. I'm really conflicted by this story. I don't understand the need to remove that very useful redundancy in the cockpit. Having that extra pilot there in case something goes wrong or whatever. I don't think it would make much of a difference to the ticket price that you and I are paying, whether there's two or one pilot in there.
I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Matt. It's all about system redundancy. And if you look at any commercial aircraft, there is a lot of redundancy, whether it's electrical generation systems, hydraulic systems, alternate means of lowering the gear, whatever it might be. Two engines, so if you have a major failure, that the aircraft will still fly, even at the most critical point of takeoff. Why not just have that in the cockpit as well?
Anyway, yes.
So you've got an additional pilot. And, of course, the way that these crews split their duties is very much specified by the airline and how they operate it. So, I think I really cannot see in our lifetime a reduction or any appetite, really, for a reduction to a single person in the cockpit.
Genuinely don't see what it is. I mean, yes, of course, and this is the thing, isn't it? I suppose to the airlines, it's the same amount of pilots, if you like. Because I guess they'd all have to be captains, because if they're the only one there, you can't have a first officer, can you? At the end of the day, so there would be an increase in salary, I suppose, in the fact that everybody who was flying essentially would need to be a captain. But I suppose there are advantages, because that's the same amount of pilots you currently have on your books could, increase the amount of flights that you're able to give. But I just don't think it's going to make that much of a difference to the ticket that you and I are paying, and that's also all I care about.
Yeah, and I think it's a very reasonable point. Also, I've spoken to a number of pilots and flight engineers that were previously operating three-person cockpit, so when there was the flight engineer, and with the reduction to two people in the cockpit, certainly with the 757 and 767, A320s, etc., most people have said to me, people that have got many thousands of hours on the clock, there's no doubt about it that when you had a third pair of eyes in the cockpit, it did make managing emergencies a lot easier. the workload with 2 people in the cockpit has gone up considerably now. Obviously, all the training and people are getting used to that now, and that's how it works. But there was quite a big gradient from going from 3 people in the cockpit to 2 people in the cockpit, and I think that's the limit. Basically, the level of automation is there. All the stuff that's on the overhead panel very often used to be in the flight engineers area. That's fine. But I don't really see how you could reduce that anymore in terms of personnel in the cockpit.
Automation, I guess, isn't it? But then, you know, that's fine. But what if something goes wrong?
That's exactly what I'm thinking.
You know,
technology's fantastic. You know,
I do. I love my technology. You know, I mean,
know it's amazing.
I absolutely love my technology. But you know, when it's something like a mission critical thing, you know, is it really that bad to have an extra pair of hands?
The last thing you want to do during a flight is have to press Control Alt Delete.
I mean, if you want to put it like that, I mean,
I'm just saying.
Yeah.
Could we potentially argue that with such a heavily safety regulated industry, I would have to argue that perhaps the insurance companies might not allow a reduction in aircrew simply because of that loss of redundancy. You know, I think Master of None makes a good point in the chat room of, you know, pilot goes to the toilet, hit some severe turbulence like we had recently with the, the nasty incident. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's your pilot done.
But then there is certainly based on the story that we're reading there is another pilot there. It's just that he's not in the cockpit during the cruise phase. And you think, well, what's the point in that? You've already had to pay him to, you know, what are you paying him half wages just because he's not flying the plane and he's
catching up on Netflix, and he poor bloke.
Well, I mean, you know, that's nice too. But, you know, that's nice too. But like,
right, next story comes to us from flightglobal.com, and it's been a busy old week. Farnborough has obviously been going on, which we haven't been to for a lot of years, but there is a good reason behind that. Airbus ended the Farnborough Air Show by disclosing preliminary deals covering 95 aircraft, as if they need that with the backlog they currently have. With Saudi budget carrier Flynas and Latin American holding company Abra, Flynas signed a memorandum of understanding for 75 more A320neos, as well as 15 A330-900s, while Avianca and GOL, parent Abra, inked a tentative deal for 5 A350-900s. The deals take to 286 the numbers of aircraft ordered, commitments announced during the show, including 124 firm orders, 140 tentative deals, and 22 options. It marks the smallest number of aircraft order announcements at either Farnborough or Paris Air Show in more than a decade. It comes after Airbus secured follow-on orders from Virgin Atlantic and Japan Airlines on the second day of the show, as airframers racked up more wide-body business. Virgin signed for 7 more Airbus A330neos, an order unveiled on board one of the existing A330-900s, which was on static display at the show. Virgin Atlantic Chief Executive Shai Weiss, with Airbus Commercial Chief Executive Christian Schreier, announced the airline's follow-on order for 7 A330-900s. Japan Airlines, meanwhile, signed for 20 firm orders for the A350-900 from Airbus, a day after it signed for 10 787-9s and took options on 10 more. Plans for both the Airbus and Boeing orders have been previously disclosed by one world carrier in March. Qatar Airways also placed an order for a further 20 Boeing 777-9s. The orders previously listed by Boeing to an attributed customer. It means 141 of the 187 aircraft commitments announced at the show so far have been wide bodies. Both Airbus and Boeing, though, also secured narrow-body business this week, and JAL, or Japan Airlines, signed for 11 A321neos and also confirmed an order for 6 A320neos from Libyan carrier Nik Airways. While Macquarie Air France became the first lessor to announce business at the show when it signed for 20 737 MAX jets. Korean Air had opened the year's Farnborough Air Show with an eye-catching commitment for up to 50 Boeing wide-bodies, provisionally signing up for 777-9, 787-10s. The Sky Team carrier signed a memorandum of understanding covering 20 firm orders for both the 777-9s, 787-10s, as well as taking options on 10 more Dreamliners. In a strong start to the show, Boeing also secured a wide-body freighter deal as National Air Cargo signed for 4 777Fs. A fourth customer, Luxair, also signed 2 firm and 2 options for 737 MAX 10s. And while Boeing led the way in orders for the day, Airbus did secure 2 bits of business, which is Vietjet firmed its February preliminary commitment for 20 A330neos, while Bhutan's Dakar signed a memorandum of understanding for 3 A320neos and 2 A321XLRs. An Air Tahiti follow-on order for more ATR 72-600s was a sole new regional aircraft order announcement during the show, though de Havilland Canada announced deals for 11 reconditioned -8 Q400s earlier at Farnborough. So again, the 2 big players dominating Farnborough this year, Boeing and Airbus. But nice to see that at least, ATR did get a little bit of sort of bread at the end of the fight.
Didn't see any embryo orders there. No. Or they weren't mentioned, at least, were they?
No.
Interesting.
True.
No, I haven't had any reports yet from anyone who went to the Farnborough Air Show to tell us what it was like. But obviously, the Farnborough Air Show has changed a lot since the days that we used to go there as a show, because it's sort of more of a kind of trade affair, isn't it now, Nev, as opposed to an actual air show?
Very much so, and unfortunately, even the years that we went, if you went towards the end of the week during the public days, a lot of the hardware had already flown off to other air shows or back to the factory. So there wasn't as much there. We were real pity.
Yeah. Now, Nev, you've got the next one, and I'm sure this is something that would annoy you slightly if you were going to Heathrow.
Yeah, I've been annoyed a lot recently, haven't I? But this is on Euronews.com, and it says that flights have been grounded at airports around Europe this week after protesters glued themselves to runways. Gatwick is the latest European airport to be granted a court order preventing environmental protesters from trespassing on its land. I would have thought they should have had that anyway. Surely it's part of the bylaws. Anyway, 5 members of Last Generation glued themselves to the runway at Cologne-Bonn Airport, causing delays and cancellations. The activist group said in a statement that supporters in several small groups cut through the perimeter fence, approached the airport and then stuck themselves to the asphalt with a mixture of sand and glue. In Finland, 9 activists from XR Finland blocked security gates at Helsinki Vantaa Airport, holding banners that read "Oil kills and fossil fuels are killing us." 3 activists from People Against Fossil Power also reportedly breached the perimeter fences of Oslo's Gardermoen Airport in Norway. 5 supporters of Vegetal Future entered the airfield at the Barcelona airport with the intention of gluing themselves onto the tarmac close to the runway, but were intercepted before being able to do so. In Switzerland, 11 supporters of Drop Fossil Subsidies and Act Now, Liberate Switzerland blocked roads heading to Zurich and Geneva airports. 5 were arrested as part of the protest, and 7 Just Stop Oil supporters were also arrested on the perimeter road just outside Heathrow Airport on Wednesday morning. On Monday, the protest group said in a statement that it would be engaging in a campaign of non-cooperation against fossil fuel use at airports across the UK this summer. Though they say they have won the initial demand for an end to oil, gas and coal licences, the protest group has called on the new government to work with other nations to establish a legally binding treaty to stop extracting and burning oil, gas and coal by 2030. This is not a course of action undertaken lightly, they've said. However, actions from governments must be commensurate with the scale of the crisis faced by humanity. Until that is the case, it is on the conscience of every ordinary citizen to utilise whatever mechanism is available to us to non-violently pressure for necessary change. Just Stop Oil adds its supporters are trained in non-violence and will take all possible steps to ensure the safety of those using the airports or planes, including avoiding going onto or any active or inactive runways. The climate activism group said that Wednesday morning actions are just the start. Recent protests at UK airports have prompted legal action in an attempt to prevent disruption during this summer. A judge who granted several of the injunctions at UK airports in recent weeks, Mr. Justice Ritchie, said that Just Stop Oil and Extinction Rebellion had made good on their threats with enormous cost to the taxpayer and private financial expense and disruption at oil terminals, roads, sports events, and their threats potentially at airports. Anyone breaching the UK injunction could face up to 2 years in prison, fines, or have their assets seized for contempt of court. Germany has also tightened rules for unauthorised entry to its airports after a series of protests. A draft amendment that would change some rules in the country's Aviation Security Act could see unauthorised entry to airport runways or airside punished with up to 2 years in prison or a fine. Up until now, this has only been punishable by a fine. I find that extraordinary that those rules are in place already, surely, with the local bylaws. You know, you may not trespass airside. Now, what has been lacking perhaps is the amount of punishment that's available to the courts to dish out. Now, that has to be changed, clearly, but I would have thought that I'm surprised they need an injunction. I thought all those rules were in place.
But how the heck did they get on side? There's one of the pictures that Matt had there with them in front of the, was it the border control part of the airport? I think it was one of the pictures on there.
Yes.
You know, how are these people getting in first that far, and then to obviously pull out banners and all the rest of it without being collared by some armed? Because, you know, whenever I've been to Heathrow, like you, Nev, there's normally some form of armed police patrolling the airport itself.
Yeah, very much so. But this is a topic that's we're going to be covering a lot, I'm sure, because this situation just won't resolve itself, and perhaps they do need greater court powers so that the judiciary can hand down sentences which are far more in proportion to the seriousness of the acts that they're doing.
The big problem is as well, if they do fine these people, give them big fines, they're never going to pay them.
No, they don't have the means to pay them, do they?
No. Yeah. Pointless. Absolutely pointless. Right, moving on to the next story. And Nick, you've got this one, haven't you, from Southwest?
Yeah, so this one's from Paddle Your Own Canoe. I was hoping Andy would be around for this one, but I know that Nev will certainly be able to give us some of his own experiences. So anyone that's flown on Southwest may be familiar with their seating policy. So Southwest Airlines is to radically change its onboard experience by abandoning its iconic open seating policy as part of a plan to improve its lagging financial performance. The Dallas-based airline confirmed on Thursday. Under pressure from activist investor Elliott Investment Management, which took a stake in the carrier earlier this year, in an attempt to oust the airline's leadership team, Southwest is introducing assigned seating and premium seating options for the first time in its more than 50-year history. Southwest Airlines hasn't concealed the fact that the new seating options are designed to increase revenue opportunities, but the airline also says that switching to assigned seating is something that customers are actually begging for. In fact, research conducted by the airline revealed that 80% of existing Southwest customers say they prefer assigned seating, with 86% of potential customers want to have an assigned seat. When a customer elects to stop flying with Southwest and chooses a competitor, open seating is cited as the number one reason for the change, the airline explained on Thursday. By moving to an assigned seating model, Southwest expects to broaden its appeal and attract more flying from its current and future customers. Southwest says it will offer extra legroom seats for the first time in its history, but specific cabin layout details are still in design. That being said, Southwest expects roughly 1/3 of all seats to offer extra legroom, which would bring the carrier in line with its industry peers. In an attempt to offer the kind of premium experiences that customers are craving, Southwest is also working to improve its onboard Wi-Fi and is in the process of installing in-seat power across the fleet. Moving to assigned seating and offering premium legroom options will be transformational. A change that cuts across almost all aspects of the company, explained embattled Chief Executive Bob Jordan on Thursday. Although our unique open seating model has been part of Southwest Airlines since our inception, our thoughtful and extensive research makes it clear that this is the right choice at the right time for our customers, our people, and our shareholders. Southwest will also finally introduce red-eye flights from Valentine's Day next year as part of a plan to further increase revenues and realise cost savings. The rollout of overnight flying will be slow, and Southwest intends to launch red-eye flights in just 5 markets: Vegas to Baltimore and Orlando, Los Angeles to Baltimore and Nashville, and Phoenix to Baltimore. So I've flown on Southwest a few times. When I've flown on them, the flights haven't always been full, so I've had a reasonable degree of leeway in order to choose where I wanted to sit. I was traveling for business purposes with a colleague. I didn't necessarily feel the need to sit with my colleague because we've been spending quite a bit of time on the road together anyway. But I think, maybe for people, families, for example, I think they would much prefer to have the opportunity to be able to assign their seats all next to each other.
Yeah, Mash is saying in the chat room she would definitely prefer assigned seating over open seating. Yeah, I must admit I do like the idea of choosing where you sit on the aircraft, especially for long haul flights if you are flying, because I tend to use that Seat Guru website where you can plumb your flight number in and it'll give the aircraft type and it'll tell you where the rubbishy seats are and where the decent seats are if you are sitting in economy, that is. But yeah, it's a good way if you want to pay the extra few quid to have your seat, pick the seat, choose the seat you want to sit in. I think you get it. Is included with your ticket price with you, Nev, because you are with the old gold card, I think, with BA, aren't you?
Yes, there's no additional costs for that. I'm with Masha, though. I've got to say I would much prefer to have assigned seating. Bearing in mind that the Southwest model is very fast turnarounds as well, 25 minutes, 30 minutes perhaps. You do not want arguments breaking out in the cabin when you're trying to turn the aircraft around and get it back out again. This is why I think that the assigned seating thing works better, and certainly for families as well. If there's 3 or 4 or 5 of you, you don't want to be, it's slow enough boarding an aircraft anyway. Having said that, this model has clearly worked quite well for them over many years. But just as a personal preference, I would prefer some assigned seating instead, yeah.
Nev, just a quick question. Were you aware that there are other seats other than 1A?
No, it's a revelation, Nick. In fact, before I tuned in tonight, I didn't know that.
It's a whole new world. We still need to get that Ryanair flight sorted for you.
Yes, we do.
Yes, we do, don't we?
Oh, no.
No, I jest, of course. But no, I think it's my personal preference would be to have assigned seating, even if I was travelling for leisure and not for business, to be perfectly honest with you. But that's just my opinion. So.
Now, Matt, if you remember, we've been lucky enough as a team to have many visits up to Heathrow Control Tower with our good friend Adam Spink, and he chatted many years ago about this to us, didn't he, about this prospect that we talk about every now and again on the show. Yeah,
indeed. It's the source on this one is The Guardian, so a fairly Reliable source, to be fair. Heathrow prepares third runway blueprint for Labour amid record passenger numbers. So Heathrow is preparing to announce a fresh blueprint for a third runway for the Labour government's approval as record passenger numbers strain its system to the maximum. The UK's biggest airport served almost 40 million passengers in the first half of 2024, culminating in the busiest day ever on the 30th of June. Its chief executive, Thomas Wolby, said that the London hub would surpass that daily total again this week and had been encouraged by the new government's words on aviation and growth. Wolby said the airport was looking to get more capacity out of the existing infrastructure while also working on new runway plans. We will have a blueprint that includes a third runway and a blueprint that doesn't, because at the end of the day there are still many external dependencies for a third runway. He said, I think London needs the additional capacity a third runway would provide. The most urgent is to look at what we can do because a third runway will not be here this year or in the next 5 or maybe even 10 years. We are not ready yet with the concrete decisions on how that should look, and what it would be, but we are happy to talk to the government about expansion plans. We're happy that they see the value of aviation overall and Heathrow in particular. Heathrow has officially had government permission to build a third runway since 2018, but legal battles and the huge decline in passenger numbers during COVID temporarily put the controversial scheme off the table. The Chancellor, Rachel Reeves, has indicated she would support a Heathrow expansion, although official Labour policy is that expansion has to meet 4 tests spanning economic benefits, pollution, noise and climate targets. The announcement of revised plans will be on hold during uncertainty over Heathrow's ownership. Worldbuy indicated it would make a lot of sense that we have the long-term shareholders in place now that we know that the change is coming before we start taking decisions like that. Woodbuy also said that demand for flights looks set to remain high, even if the rapid rate of growth post-COVID did not continue. He said Heathrow had not directly been affected by the recent global IT outage and suffered minimal disruption. There we go.
It's a shame, Nev. You're now coming to sort of retiring from the company you work for, and the amount of flying you'll probably do will go down. And now they're going to build a third runway, possibly.
Well, you say they're going to build it. I mean, this whole subject goes back to 2000 or just before 2000, I think I'm right in saying. I've noticed as well, as I've been coming into Heathrow more and more now, we went through a period that we weren't doing any holding at all, and it's because of that time-based separation that they've been doing because of the wind speeds and all the rest of it, which has been really effective. But now, very often on most European flights that I'm doing, I'm going around the hold at least once, sometimes twice, so that's a 5-minute or 10-minute delay usually. So that's something which tells you about the runway capacity or the airport capacity, but actually that's in the middle of the summer, clearly. But yeah, I mean, it needs a third runway. No two ways about it, in my opinion. The thing is that in terms of where we are with emissions and technology and environmental considerations, it's never been better. You know, these aircraft are incredibly fuel efficient now, and you know, they've got a very good performance off of short runways too. But this is still years and years and years away, I think, because of all the things that have happened previously with local objections to it being built.
So we're going to move on swiftly to the next one. We've got loads to pile in the show still. Nick, do you want to take this one from the UK?
Yeah, so this one's from flight360aero.com. Good news, really. 26% increase in pilot licenses issued to women in the United Kingdom. Although India still tops the list, which I would never have predicted. So more women are now flying aeroplanes, helicopters and other forms of aircraft than ever before. as seen in new data from the UK CAA. The 25 by 2025 campaign was launched on the 26th of September 2019, with participating airlines making a voluntary commitment to increase the number of women employees. The UK Civil Aviation Authority data showed that in 2019, the number of pilot licenses issued to women were 239. This increased to 301 by 2023. This compares to 3,267 issued in 2019 and 3,752 issued in 2023, a 15% increase. Sharon Nicholson, chairwoman of the British Women Pilots Association and UK Airprocs Board Inspector at the UK Civil Aviation Authority, said, "As a pilot, it's incredibly rewarding to see the rise in female pilots over the years. The change in the industry makes it more accessible for young women. I actively encourage young females to consider flying as a career choice, as it's empowering to see so many unlocking the incredible possibilities of the aviation industry." Bronwyn Fraser, Secretary of the British Women Pilots Association and Sustainability Principal at the UK CAA, said, "Women pilots bring diverse perspectives and skills, but aviation is so much more than just flying. We have brilliant women engineers, air traffic controllers, and sustainability experts pushing the boundaries of innovation, developing new technologies, and unlocking the full potential of our airspace. We need more young women in aviation and must inspire the next generation to take flight and build an inclusive future for aviation." So a few stats: a 34% increase in aeroplane licenses, both commercial and GA, issued to women since 2019, 34%. 43% increase in commercial licenses issued to women versus 31% increase for men. 11% increase in GA licenses for women, and a 1% decrease in GA licenses for men. So that's really interesting. As per the CAA, helicopter licenses, 25 issued in 2023, were the second most common licenses issued by the regulator, with balloon pilot licenses the third most common, and other pilot licenses including gyroplanes and sailplanes. So moving on to the world stage, India's civil aviation regulatory body, Directorate General of Civil Aviation, recently shared statistics suggesting a rise in the number of women pilots in India. In 2023, India witnessed a significant 22% surge in the issuance of commercial pilot licenses, with 18.1% being granted to women pilots. So we've got a little graphic there. So the percentage share of commercial airline pilots who are women by country, and this was actually back in 2021. So we've got the lowest in this chart being the United Kingdom with 4.7. It's then United States, the world average being 5.8. It then steps up to Germany, Canada, Australia, South Africa, Ireland, and way out in the lead with 12.4% is India, which I would never have predicted. Yeah, so that's really interesting to see a big growth in women coming into aviation. I'm a huge supporter of that, and I think it's great to see more diversity and, yeah, getting more women in the cockpit and flying. I think it's brilliant.
Agreed.
Very good to see. And yeah, you're right. Surprising, India. But is that probably because there are such a phenomenal amount of commercial airliners flying in and around India?
Yeah, I mean,
it's an incredibly busy part of the.
It is a huge growth market there, I think, isn't it? But yeah, I don't know. I mean, maybe I could kind of have a slightly stereotypical view of the country in saying that it might be a more male-dominated culture there, perhaps. Maybe that's just my, I have a bad bias. But yeah, I don't know. I'm really pleased to see that in India. I think that's phenomenal. It's brilliant to see and to be so far ahead of any of the other countries as well. It's an extraordinary statistic.
Nev, you've got the last story this evening. I think Nick has saved this one especially for you.
Yeah, so everybody's had their dinner tonight because it's on simpleflying.com. It says that a United Airlines flight to Boston had to divert to Washington, Dallas. Due to a biohazard situation on board, the pilots decided that the best course of action was to get the plane on the ground immediately, as some cabin crew members had started vomiting and passengers were asking for masks. On the 28th of July, a United Airlines flight from George Bush International Airport to Boston Logan International Airport reported a biohazard situation on board after a passenger became ill. Things began to go south quickly as the biohazard started making some cabin crew members and passengers uncomfortable, resulting in some of the crew vomiting also. The pilots were informed of the development in the cabin, and after assessing the situation, they decided to land the plane as soon as possible. An audio clip between the pilot and ATC circulating on social media highlights just how bad the problem was. The pilot was heard saying, "The crew is vomiting and passengers all around are asking for masks. I talked to the crew and it sounds like it's getting quite bad back there." With this kind of being a biohazard, I think we need to get this plane on the ground ASAP. United Airlines said that the passenger experienced a medical issue resulting in the diversion. In a statement to Simple Flying, the carrier said, United flight UA 2477 diverted to Washington Dulles after a customer experienced a medical issue. The aircraft was deep cleaned and departed for Boston this evening. The aircraft, which was a 737-800 and a scheduled service between the two cities, with a departure time of 9:30 and an arrival time of 14:45. This flight takes little more than 3 hours to complete, but on Sunday, due to the situation on board, it had to divert to Washington Dulles. In such cases, an industrial level cleaning is required for the aircraft, which usually takes a lot longer than regular cleaning, and the aircraft eventually departed Washington at 18:37 and landed in Boston at 19:47. In September 2023, a Delta Airlines flight from Hartfield-Jackson Atlanta International Airport to Barcelona's El Prat Airport was forced to turn around because a passenger suffered from diarrhea, creating a biohazard. The situation was more than what the cabin crew members could handle. They initially tried to clean the plane, but it was reported that the use of a disinfectant with a vanilla smell only made the odour worse. Oh. I've had some vanilla ice cream tonight, as a matter of fact.
Oh, that's handy.
The aircraft eventually landed in Atlanta when it underwent industrial-scale cleaning, including a full-scale carpet replacement for some sections of the aisle. Thankfully, the aircraft was ready for the flight in a few hours. We don't know what the biohazard was, though.
I don't know. Do we want to know? I mean,
well, I like the full detail.
Right, of course, yes. It's the journalist in you, isn't it? You need all of the, yeah. Yeah. Mm.
Oh dear. Yeah. Well, anyway, everyone's okay, and they got the plane on the deck.
They got the plane on the ground, exactly.
Yeah.
That's
True.
There was I read a really good comment on Twitter. Who it was somebody commenting saying that they were on the Delta flight, commented that it smelled horrible, and the vanilla scented disinfectant used to mask the odor only made it smell like vanilla poo.
Oh, brilliant.
Oh, word.
I've changed the word poo.
Have you? Right.
Yes, it was a different word.
Edited for broadcast.
Yes.
Very good. Well done. There's hope for you yet.
Right. Moving on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Nev, you have got the next part of the show to introduce, as it's that kind of part of the show which is a favourite of many viewers.
Yeah, well, it's been a very popular segment, the retro airline ad of the week. Well, this week we're going back to the 1970s with the BA guys and girls, and in this video it's worth noting the care taken by the crew with the priceless souvenirs.
Oh, that wonderful sovereign holiday in Greece. That was when I bought that genuine ancient Greek urn. Do you know, I never thought I'd get it home in one piece.
Look out!
It was so roomy, that British Airways TriStar. And the stewardess was so understanding about my urn.
Should I put that somewhere safe for you, madam?
Please, but be very careful with it. I will.
I remember those days in Tunisia.
I mean, in many, many ways, there's so many things wrong with this story, isn't it? I mean, we were talking about turbulence only. I mean, it's like that. It's like that never existed. Like, you know, turbulence. Like back then, you know, when was this? 1970s? Did you say?
Yeah, 1970s.
Yeah,
I think that large vase could have been quite useful for the passenger that was on the previous story.
Flight. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. So that would do the job, wouldn't it?
It's funny because
couldn't they? That's the other thing.
When I saw that on a Founders advert, it just reminded me of those flights as a child when I used to go to Tunisia. And, you know, do you remember Nev and Tunisia used to have those sort of little drums I used to make with the stuff all around the side with tiny little handheld drum sort of things, you know, you've seen them. And everyone used to buy those as a souvenir and bring them home on the plane. And there's always those baskets and stuff like that. And it's one of those things like, if you tried that nowadays, well, that's an extra 80 quid to bring that home.
Well, yes, that is true.
But, yeah. Could you remember that one, Nev, or is that...
No, I don't remember that one. I was probably only 9 at the time. But
okay.
It does fit in with the, you know, that period of time, doesn't it? But, you know, and I think actually... The BA TriStars, I think that in the BA livery on the TriStar looked the business, didn't it? My only regret is that I never flew on a TriStar. I've done on plenty of DC-10s in the past out of Gatwick, but never a TriStar.
No. Captain Cruz is saying in the chat room, by the way, anyone still got a donkey from Mallorca? Yes, we all remember bringing one of those home, don't we? Quite. Yes, indeed.
What's that song that we tend to play every year on Park Math?
What Dominic the Donkey?
Dominic the Donkey.
One? Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah, or Melakaliki Mucka, which I got. It's taken me years to practice being able to say that. Don't look at me like that, Nick.
Anyway,
you did it very well.
Thank you, dear. You're very kind. Yeah.
We've got the competition prize winner to pull out of the hat for the polo shirt this week, and we've also got another competition set by Nev this week to win another book. And that polo shirt on the screen, for those of you watching in the world of YouTube, came straight from the 100th Bomb Group over at Four Abbots, where, as most of you will know, was where the film Masters of the Air was based around. So, yeah, that chance to win that coming up soon. But first, it's time for, well, it's time for Mr. Warner's favourite part of the show. It's, of course, the military segment.
What's up, bogeys 13550, Angel 16, heading 340. Okay. Now, undersea bogeys.
And this week's first story comes from the BBC.co.uk, and it's about F-16s again. And just want to point out that Nev is gone. The first F-16 fighter jets are set to arrive in the Ukraine from NATO member states after many months of preparation and pilot training. Ukraine's President Volodymyr Zelensky has said that they are essential to help Ukrainians push back against Russia's aerial dominance and unblock the skies. Russian forces have been preparing the Ukrainians' F-16s too, or preparing for the F-16s too. They have targeted a number of Ukrainian military airfields, and there are growing concerns that these long-awaited jets will be attacked and destroyed soon after they arrive. In July alone, at least 3 airfields have come under attack. Myrhod, Kryvyi in central Ukraine, and one in southern Odessa region. Moscow claims it has destroyed 5 Ukrainian Su-27 fighter jets and 1 MiG-29, along with a radar and valuable Patriot air defense launchers. Kyiv authorities are keeping mostly silent, claiming on social media that the destroyed jets and air defense system were, in reality, decoys that had cost Russia several expensive Iskander missiles. Decoys or not, Ukraine's allies and many Ukrainians themselves fear they may be insufficient protection for the US F-16s. Until now, the Ukrainian Air Force was largely relying on dispersed operations to ensure its warplanes were not hit on the ground. But that may have to change if the Ukraine is to protect its valuable fleet of Western aircraft from Russian missiles. F-16s require perfectly smooth runways, swept clear of stones and other small items of debris if they are not to run the risk of engine failures. Until recently, Russia would have relied on surveillance or satellite imagery to spy on Ukraine's air bases, so it never knew for sure if its missiles had struck their targets. Now it has spy drones such as Zala, Supercam and Orlans that can send real-time images from deep inside Ukrainian territory, avoiding Ukraine's electronic detection and jamming systems. Drone Unit Commander Oslangda Kakbut says the drones can now be pre-programmed to fly long distance in radio silence. Russian Defense Ministry video showing the attack on Myrhod Air Base earlier this month appears to show the moment Iskander ballistic missiles hit the area where several jets were parked. For the Ukraine's Volodymyr Zelensky, the F-16s cannot come at a moment too soon after an 18-month wait. He'd originally hoped for the twice as many as the 65 he'd been promised, such as the need for fighter aircraft. If the Ukraine can protect its F-16s on the ground, the hope is that they could play an important part in pushing back the Russian aircraft to a point where the glide bombs can no longer target Ukrainian ground forces. Currently, Ukraine's Soviet-era aircraft use missiles that require a constant lock on a Russian plane, thought to have targeting the launching phase. The places in that Ukraine jets are under greater threat because they cannot fire a missile and then turn away, which the F-16s can do. Not everyone believes the F-16s will be able to protect the Ukraine's frontline towns. If the jets fly high, they'll be vulnerable to Russia's air defense systems, warns Professor Bronk. If they fly too low, they will have to fly deeper into Russian territory to give their missiles sufficient range, and that carries even greater risks. Rather than seeing the F-16s as a potential targets, they will only enhance Ukraine's air defenses because of their ability to intercept cruise missiles, while Patriot batteries shoot down ballistic missiles, and each airbase will have crews on shift that will take off in case of an aerial threat. The F-16s won't necessarily turn the tide of war, but they will have a significant impact in attacks on the ground and in the air. The question is whether there will be enough of them and whether they can protect and be protected on the ground. And there we go. Well, let's hope that all these aircraft being donated don't get destroyed, because obviously it's I don't know whether they're supposed to hand these back at the end. Hopefully the end is going to be very soon, obviously. But whether they I think a lot of these are sort of older aircraft, aren't they, that are maybe maybe surplus to requirements, for want of a better way of putting it. It should certainly make quite a difference to their air capability. Richard E. Flag, he's off. He's having to bow out early tonight, but he says, see us Saturday. Yeah, see you Saturday, Richard. Look forward to that. Nick, you've got the next one. All about Saabs, and we're not talking about cars either.
Well, no. So, if you were to say the word Saab to me, I would immediately think of a quirky,
very well-built car.
Well, a quirky-looking driver, perhaps wearing a black turtleneck, maybe an architect, maybe a geography teacher. But no, we're not talking about those. We're talking about the Saab Gripen fighter jet, which could soon launch satellites. So yeah, this one obviously caught my eye while looking for some military stories this morning. The Swedish Air Force has embarked on a comprehensive study into the viability of launching small satellites from the Gripen multi-role fighter aircraft. Called Stella. The study is inspired by a statement from a former Ukrainian space agency official who said a responsive satellite launch capability with an aircraft would have been useful in preparing for an enemy attack. According to the Swedish Air Force Space Division head Colonel Ella Karlsson, a university in Stockholm has already looked into whether the proposed capability is feasible. Initial findings suggest that an air-launched rocket could enable satellites weighing 2 kilograms to be launched into low Earth orbit. Now, Carlson said the focus is on how a rocket could safely be fitted to the Gripen aircraft, with consideration for ground clearance. They are making calculations, she said, on the eve of the Farnborough Air Show. But if we need to rebuild the aircraft to fit the rocket, we won't do it. The idea of launching small satellites from fighter jets is not new, as the Italian Air Force undertook a similar study in 2019 using the Eurofighter Typhoon. With extensive experience in developing satellites and launch vehicles, the initiative was envisaged to help Rome launch military satellites from its own territory. However, little is known about the results of the Italian study. With the apparent failure of the first European study, Gripen manufacturer Saab cautioned that there is no guarantee the effort will lead to operational capability. As regards the specifics of the Stellar study and its intended purpose, we will not prejudice the feasibility nor outcome, said a spokesperson. Interesting idea, though. It's, I mean, obviously we saw the, what did they call it? The Virgin thing that they were launching rockets from underneath the wing of the 747. So we know that it's possible, but it's, a sort of slightly different thing to do it on such a small aircraft as a fighter aircraft, rather than a big sort of, cargo type plane that's obviously got a much higher ability to carry a larger payload. So yeah, be interesting to see how that goes.
Thanks to Jonathan Warner, by the way, who's playing the usual game of see how quickly he can find a picture from his collection for the story we're talking about and send it across for me to then load in before the story is finished reading.
Excellent job. Excellent.
Well done, Mr. Warner. How far are you getting on with your pictures, Jonathan? Have you finished editing all 10 million photos from Riyadh? Probably not, I expect. Anyway, moving on to the next part of the show. He's not been on for a little while. He drops in every now and again. He still contributes to the show very much indeed. But we have got a special little check-in video that has been sent to us by Armando, and it's not ready in the box yet, Matt?
No, sorry, technical problem. Sorry, it wouldn't. Chat amongst yourselves for a moment. I will try and rectify.
Shall we do the polo shirt giveaway?
Yes, do that while
let's do that. Right, so it's your chance to win the 100th Bomb Group polo shirt. I shall just, for the benefit of you watching in the world of YouTube, here we go. Here is the shirt. I shall
it's a good one,
pop that on the camera there for those of you watching the world of YouTube. You can see the embroidery logo on the front, 100th Bomb Group Memorial Museum. Straight from the museum, that was. Very good tour I had indeed around the museum a few weeks ago as well. But Nev, we asked a question, didn't we?
Oh, yes. And I'm glad you asked me that. The question was, what was the worst mission for losses of the 100th Bomb Group during the Second World War? We had a lot of answers in. Not all were correct. However, the answer was the mission to Berlin, where they lost 15 aircraft in March 1944. And as always, we have the hat here.
What's the hat this week, Nev?
The hat is the Airbus A350 XWB.
Oh, okay. Very good.
Like that one. So we have all the correct answers in the hat. I shall give them.
So just to let you know, the polo shirt is an extra large one. I just grabbed.
Oh, right. Okay. Yes. Well, that's worth knowing. So let's just have a fiddle around here. And I've pulled one out at random.
That's what she said.
Yes. Oh, and look at that. The answer is Richard Adams. Well done, Richard. Excellent. Now, without giving too much away, I think that would be hopefully a good size for you. I hope I haven't offended you massively by that statement. But
well done, Richard.
I think we're okay. We've got your address, Richard, so Carlos will post it to you soon as possible.
Indeed.
Yes, well done.
Now, good news, it's all ready, I'm pleased to say. So, yeah.
We'll play the video out, and then after the video, we are going to be giving away a book. So Nev's got that ready to go in just a bit. But as I said earlier, here is a little catch-up video, especially from Armando.
7 Julie Papa, traffic's now 11 o'clock and about 3 miles.
Oh, hey everybody, good afternoon. Greetings from 2,000 feet over the skies of North Carolina. Here in the biplane today, getting some nice VFR practice in. Kind of a bumpy day, but pretty cool. Thought I'd just check in. It's been a while since I've been on the show, a couple of weeks at least. Everything's going well on our side. Family's doing well, and lots of flying for work, as expected. Been taking the Hawker pretty much everywhere, all up and down the East Coast and out to the Mississippi. Not getting to fly this thing as much as I wanted to, but at least here I am today. Anyway, just wanted to say hello to everybody, and of course, as always, shout out to all the guys on the show, and John and Nick in the background, always making sure that we sound like we know what we're talking about. Hope everybody's having a great week. Enjoy the show.
Honestly.
I mean, for the benefit, if there's anyone listening to this as an audio podcast, please get yourselves over to the YouTube version of the show and just watch that back, because it is stunning.
It really is. It really is. It's just bonkers, isn't it?
So good, honestly. I think, can you imagine if we ran a competition to have a day flying with Armando in the biplane?
Yeah.
I can probably guess that would be quite a well-liked competition.
Well subscribed, yes.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for that, Armando. As always, brilliant, making everyone jealous in the chat room. I know Mr. Warner was quite impressed by that. Now, Nev, you are giving away something else this week.
Yeah, we've got lots of books to give away, so we need to start doing some more competitions here. And we've just been sent this by our chums at Grub Street Publishing. It's by Air Marshal G.A. Black Robertson, and it's called Flying Through the Ranks, The Extraordinary Experiences of Airmen to Air Marshals from the Cold War to the Gulf. I've not had a chance to read it yet, but it is packed full of information, pictures, about 215 pages worth, and a very interesting read, I would imagine.
I'm guessing that book's green, Nev.
It is, yes. Is that the... Yes, I didn't
There we go.
that.
That's
Yes.
slightly better. Yes, there we go.
Yes, that's not really worked, has it?
No, it's sort of fading in and out a little bit, but
sorry.
definitely good.
Anyway, so we've got a question in order to win the book. This week's quiz question is: when was the Tornado GR4 retired from RAF service? When was the Tornado GR4 retired from RAF service? And we do need the exact date, if you please. As I said, the prize is Flying Through the Ranks by G.A. Black Robertson. And send your competition entries into podcast@planetalkinguk.com, and we shall put all the correct answers into a hat and draw them out on next week's show.
Now, Nick, you've been trying to get us some feedback sent in over the last few weeks, haven't you? We have had some very nice feedback, actually.
Yes, we have. I'm very, very happy to hear that. So, yeah, the first one we had was from our listener, Jeff Ward. Hello to Jeff. I know he was in the chat room earlier. I don't know if he's still with us. Now, Jeff was a very lucky chap indeed, because last week he was at Oshkosh. And he very kindly sent us a little message, and he said, "Hi guys, just wanted you to know that I showed the flag for you today at AirVenture Oshkosh 2024. Keep up the good work, Jeff Ward." And he sent in a picture, and he's wearing a PT UK shirt at Oshkosh.
Yes.
So, thank you, Jeff. That's brilliant. Absolutely fantastic. Hope you had a good time, Jeff. Not at all even remotely jealous of going to Oshkosh. Looked pretty boring this year.
Did it? Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Fireworks were rubbish. Yeah. Weren't really many planes there.
Planes flying.
Yeah. Probably wouldn't bother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But thanks, Jeff, for sending that. He's in the chat room. He's still there.
Very good. Very good.
So, and I'll tell you, that's that to background behind Jeff there. That's that iconic.
Yes, the famous arch.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Very nice.
That's brilliant.
That,
so appreciate that, Jeff. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Now, I don't know if Matt was able to access them. I think we had an email, I think, from Reese.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
Now, Reese was the winner of our lovely A380 tag, I think, wasn't he?
Yep.
And he's been up at Dunkerswell, which is actually not very far from me. So Dunkerswell is it's an old World War II airfield. It's just to the northeast of Exeter, and it's a really lovely airfield. It's actually where I flew the Cirrus from about 6 weeks ago. And Reese has been looking at a chipmunk and a wildcat. So I don't know if we've got some photos there. Oh, there we go. Look at that.
There we go.
Lovely. Now that chipmunk is a bit of a soft spot for those, because that was the first aircraft that I flew. So yeah, I would love to get love to have a go in one of those.
What's that? We've got one of those Hogwarty things there.
Yeah, the Wildcat. Yeah, the Royal Navy. Those guys got a display team. They used to do the circuits a lot with. I don't know if they do now. First saw those guys over at funnily enough, at the air show in Malta many years ago, doing a really good display there with the Wildcat. And I think Mr. Warner's probably seen those quite a few times as well. And
they were actually.
Were they at Riyadh this year?
The Wildcat was there at Dunk as well the day I was flying, and they seemed to be doing what I could only assume was hovering practice, because they were just basically doing a lot of hanging around at about 12 feet off the ground. And I know, obviously, I think it's probably one of the harder parts of flying a helicopter, isn't it? Is the low speed handling. So presumably, I don't know whether they choose Dunk as well because it just happens to be a good environment for them.
Yeah.
But yeah. So I think they are quite a regular visitor. But thanks a lot, Reese. Really appreciate the pictures. And for anyone else, get your emails in, get your videos in, do a voice recording on your phone, send us anything, because it's really lovely to have listeners be part of the show. So get in touch.
Yes. So this weekend we have got a busy weekend indeed. It is our kind of annual flying meetup, which this year we're having at Beccles Airfield, Echo Golf Sierra Mike. And Nev, we're off there this Saturday, aren't we?
Yes, looking forward to it very much. We're going to be there from 10 a.m. And there's a restaurant on site, so you better sit and have some lunch with us as well, and perhaps some alcoholic beverage if you're not driving. I think they've still got accommodation available on the airfield as well, but you've got to book that up fairly quickly, as those things do get booked up quite fast. But if you're flying in, you will need to do a PPR booking before flying in, and the details for this can be found on the Beccles Aerodrome website, which is at becclesaerodrome.co.uk, or you can email the club at ops@becclesaerodrome.co.uk, and their phone number is +44 1502 476 074. So we'll be there from 10ish on Saturday, and the weather is reasonable at the moment, I think, isn't it? It's not a disaster.
But we have got a couple of special guests flying in to join us this Saturday. One of which most of you will all know because we've had him on as a guest on the show. Not recently, but we're trying to get him back on again, hopefully. He's a busy man indeed. It is, of course, everyone's favourite Captain Al. He's going to be flying in this Saturday to come and see us at Beccles. And also, he's managed to steer himself away from the Phenom. Pilot Pip as well is going to be flying in Saturday as well.
Oh, brilliant.
For dinner. So, it'd be good to see Pip as well, because not seen him for a while. And we've got a few, I think we've got a few people from the chat room who I think might be coming there this Saturday as well. I know Richard's going to make the drive over as well.
Or you can deliver his prize in person then, rather than post it.
So who's that?
Did you say Richard Adams? No,
Richard E. Flag.
Oh, sorry.
Oh, Richard, yes.
Yeah, sorry, yes.
Yeah, Richard E. Flag is going to be joining us as well this weekend. And like I said, if you are listening to it, hopefully you'll listen to this show before Saturday. That's this Saturday, the 3rd of August. If you are around towards the East Coast, Beccles area, come to the airfield, we'll be up there, and you get to meet the world famous Neville Bounds.
Yeah, I'm going to be there as well, but I've just got to finish on air first before I can head up there. So I should be on air till 10 and then head up. So
Jeff Ward says he's still at Oshkosh.
Nice.
Jeff, go home. It's finished.
Also, for those of you who are looking ahead towards the future a bit into September, Nev, we're off somewhere special in September, aren't we, again this year?
Yes, we are. Saturday the 14th of September, we're off to Duxford for the Battle of Britain Air Display. Entertainment there is from 8 p.m. till 6 p.m, and the flying starts at around 1 o'clock. They are only advance tickets. You cannot just turn up and buy tickets on the gates. You've got to apply in advance. Tickets are from £49.50 plus a £5 car parking fee, and children under age 15 go free with the standard tickets only, and Imperial War Museum members save 10%. The actual event is on the 14th and 15th of September, but we will be there on Saturday the 14th, and we'll give you a bit more detail about exact timings nearer the time.
Yes. Right, so if you want to contact us, if you want to send your answers in for the competition Nev set earlier, we'll pop the question on social media as well soon. You can get in touch with us via our usual social media links, which is Facebook and Twitter, or X, and Instagram. Search for Plane Talking UK. That's PLANE. You can email the show. It's podcast@planetalkinguk.com. Send your answers into there. You can also find our website, allthews.planetalkinguk.com. On there, you'll find out more about the crew. You'll also find a link there to the shop where you can get yourself a P2UK t-shirts like what Jeff was wearing at Oshkosh. You can get yourself one of those there. There's also the mugs as well, the P2UK mugs, as well as the world-famous grey military mugs that I know Jonathan Warner, his pride and joy, and that is in his kitchen. And you can find out as well more about what we do on the show there with all the links. And if you want to, you could become a patron of the show, or do a PayPal donation to the show to help fund and keep going like we do every week here on YouTube. So thanks to one and all for that. So that's about it. We're going to quick round robin. Right, Nev, what are you up to next week?
Not a lot, but probably more in the car than in the aircraft. I think there's no flying plan for next week for me, so I'll just be doing a quick, well, not be a quick, it's quite a long slog down to Llanelli in West Wales, and Cardiff and maybe Bath as well on the way back. So that's all that's planned at the moment.
Nick, next week?
Waiting for a new clutch to arrive from Italy for my my little Ducati motorbike.
Ooh,
so hopefully
progress,
that's going to turn
progress.
up.
That's exciting. Yeah. Love that.
Excellent. Matt?
I mean, a cheeky little fly-in on Saturday. Looking forward to coming and having a coffee with everybody there. But yeah, that's about it, really. Bit of radio. That's me lot, really.
Excellent.
Yeah.
And I shall be at work enjoying the hot sunshine that's forecast for Tuesday.
Very good. Okay. Happy days.
Right, that's it. That's where we're going to bring episode 513 to a close. Hope to see as many of you as we can on Saturday at Beccles. Other than that, have a great rest of the week. Have a great weekend. Take care, whatever you're up to. And, well, say goodbye, Nev.
Yes, hope it was a nice weekend, and the weather is reasonable. So we'll see you if you're coming at Beccles. Otherwise, we'll see you same time next week. Bye for now.
And there we go.
Marvellous.
Marvellous. Well done, everyone.
It is warm. I'm not going to... And I know we mustn't complain because it has been awful.
No,
The
I'd
weather
like to...
Well,
has been utterly awful.
If it's 27 in here, 27.8 in here, there's a good chance it's a lot warmer in the P2K.
I don't want to know. I don't want to know. I've got a machine here. I don't know if I want to know. Hang on. Let me see. It's on. Hang on. I'm opening the blind. Oh, Carlos has gone all blurry.
All I'm going to say to you is, imagine it's February it's 2 degrees outside and there's sideways rain. What would you rather have?
I'm afraid you've still described July there, Nick.
That's not untrue at all.
No, indeed. There have been large parts of July where I've just thought it is ridiculous. It's July and I'm wearing a coat.
It was getting ridiculous.
Yeah. So I'm actually quite glad we've finally got a little bit of temperature.
No, I'm loving it.
But
you won't hear me complaining at all. I can't stand the winter, so this is great.
No, absolutely. Well, and especially nice bikes and things. How is the progress? I mean, it's how is it looking? I mean, I know you've still got a lot to do with the Ducati, but
it's it does still ride.
Okay.
But I can't get the bike into neutral, which is sort of a bit of a
problem. Yeah.
Well, it's only really a problem when you sort of pull up to junctions or you're stopped at traffic lights and stuff like that.
Okay.
But, so it still rides okay.
Many would argue that it's perhaps a safety critical function.
Possibly.
Right, okay.
But so hopefully, I've ordered one specially from Italy. Hopefully it'll arrive by the end of the week, and hopefully it's the right one for the bike.
It's always yeah.
Yeah, it's actually super easy to fit. I can literally do the whole job in about 20 minutes.
Yeah,
but
every vehicle I've ever had, and whenever I've bought it, I've always bought one that's right on the cusp. So it'll always be either this part or this part. I've never ever bought one where it's like right smack bang in the bit where there's no ambiguity. It'll definitely be this part because it was 2006 to 2012 and I bought it in 2009.
Part of the issue with this is it's a 1996 bike, so it's very old by modern standards, and it is a bit tricky.
Yeah, but that's what makes it so yummy, though.
It does sound good.
That is what makes it yummy, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, enough about bike chat. Oh dear. Oh, so Nev, you must be absolutely exhausted. It's just been.
I was going to say, Nev's been on the go since about this morning.
Well, it's non-stop, is it?
Wasn't too bad. I mean, it's a 10:35 flight this morning, so I didn't have to get up too early, and just had a little bit of breakfast in the lounge at Edinburgh, which was a very busy airport. And also Heathrow was busy on Monday when I flew out, actually. It's obviously holiday season, so lots of people going away. Yes, a bit more moderate stuff next week, hopefully. Actually, a lot of my customers are away, so fewer customer visits to do.
Nice.
We'll have to see. But yes, I'm quite enjoying the weather, although I don't like the humidity so much. But I see some sunshine, finally.
It is nice to see some sunshine. Huzzah. Yeah. Finally. Anyway, shall we let these lovely people get back to their
get back to their evening? Yeah, big thanks to everyone again for tuning in, watching the show. And have a great rest of the week and enjoy your weekends. And Nev, last words from you.
Yeah, take care, everybody. Thanks for joining, and we'll see you same time next week. In the meantime, bye for now.